Welcome to 1000 PS at home here in Austria, and welcome to the introduction of Triumph's new Street Triple 765 RS. So the last time I rode this bike was in Jerez at the World Launch. We got to ride it on the track and we got to ride the Standard R on the road. And it's bike I sadly missed because that was 23 and now we're in 24. So when the guys at 1000 PS gave me the opportunity to come and ride here on some amazing roads, jumped at it. Love this bike, always have done in every incarnation there's been. It's just familiar to get back on this bike and remember how good it is. It's such a sporty, naked bike. You've got to remember in the UK, this is the basis of the bike that Peter Hickman rode at the TT and is the base of the bike that is winning races in British Supersport. It is essentially a next generation Supersport in a kind of naked chassis, but it works on the road. It's not too radical. It's just got lovely power, lovely drive, lovely handling. Everything about this bike is so enjoyable. The engine is almost legendary. It's a little bit down in capacity compared to some other bikes in this category, so you've got to rev it a bit, but that makes it enjoyable, that makes it sporty, and it sounds great. There's such a growl and such a bark to it. The handling is superb. We've got fully adjustable shower on the front, we've got All-ins on the rear because this is the RS, we've got big Brembo brakes, and as I said, you could quite happily ride this bike to a track day, go on a track day, sign up for the fast group, chase down sports bikes with a massive grin on your face. It even comes on Pirelli Supercorsa rubber out the box. Just go to the track, let the tyres down and go for it. I've thoroughly enjoyed riding this bike here in Austria. There's a few little niggles that some people might pick up. For me personally, I don't like the bar end mirrors because I like to kind of twist the throttle with my hand off the edge of the bar when I'm riding quite quick. The clocks are okay, the switch gear is okay, but it's not 10 out of 10, it's kind of like 8 out of 10. And as much as I love the Pirelli track day rubber, when you hit the rain and the wet that we had a little bit today, it is a little bit tricky. However, saying that, if you do hit the wet, flick it into rain mode, you've got cornering ABS, you've got cornering traction control, you've got a plethora of safety aids to keep you safe and to keep you sound. If you do get the opportunity, if you've got a Triumph dealer near you, take one for a test ride. They're so much fun. Even if you're going to lie to your local dealer and pretend that you want to buy one, just get the opportunity to ride one of these bikes because they've got so much torque, so much fun, so much power. It is essentially a next generation sports bike in naked form, and I love it. So I've ridden this bike in Jerez, in Austria, in the UK. I've seen race versions of this at the TT and in British Supersport. I really, really love the RS and the Standard R. It's a bike that I've loved every time it's been improved over the years. But I might be slightly biased. Maybe it's because I'm British and maybe it's because I like sports bikes, because this is the sportiest of that middleweight category. So let's see what my colleagues from around Europe think. Do they love the sporty, aggressive nature of the Triumph, or is it a little bit too radical for them?
I personally have to be a bit careful when judging the Triumph Street Triple RS because I might be slightly biased. I've always been a big Street Triple fan and that hasn't changed. What excites me so much about the Street Triple is of course the 3-cylinder engine combined with a really stable setup while still offering plenty of agility. It's incredibly nimble and for me the best part of this bike is definitely the suspension. It's made up of high quality components that are set up on the firm side. You can feel that, but at the same time the response is simply fantastic. And you mustn't forget, yes, it's firm, but these are top tier components, which means they're fully adjustable. And when you adjust them, you actually notice a real difference. So if I want the bike to handle bumps a bit more smoothly, the suspension offers a wide range of adjustment, allowing me to fine tune it exactly as I want. Just like I mentioned, the geometry, I also find the riding position absolutely spot on. There's a noticeable front end bias, but it's by no means extreme, so there's no excessive pressure on my wrists. I can easily ride the street triple all day without discomfort. The combination of this riding position and the superb suspension components lets you feel an incredible amount of feedback, especially from the front wheel. And that became really clear during the ride. The bike is fitted with like Super Corsa SP tires, and we rode in the wet, yet the bike communicated so well what was possible and what wasn't. It might sound odd, but it was actually a joy to experience that level of feedback. As for the engine, three cylinders, the perfect compromise. On the road, in most situations, there's no need to even debate that. I love the fact that even at lower revs, it produces a deep, bassy sound rather than being dominated by mechanical noise. But when you compare it to the larger MT-09, you do notice a difference. Yes, there's good low-end torque. It's a 3-cylinder after all, but it doesn't have quite the same punch as the MT-09. So you don't get that instant wow feeling, and you might need just a fraction more patience when setting off from low revs. The gearbox feels great though, at the absolute highest level of nitpicking. The quick shifter could be a tiny bit faster in certain situations. As for the brakes, in terms of hardware, they're an absolute powerhouse. A beginner, especially in urban areas, might find the sharp initial bite a bit overwhelming, but at higher speeds, when you need a bit more force on the lever, it's incredibly easy to modulate. As you can tell, I'm really struggling to find any faults here. The only thing I can say about the street triple, and this isn't a criticism, just a personal observation, is that the bike's precision and sporty nature push me to ride fast. I feel like I have to ride aggressively with the street triple. Even though it feels totally right and natural, I just don't find myself riding it in a relaxed manner. I simply want to push it hard, and for that reason I'm not sure whether I'd be able to keep my license or even my life in the long run. But as I said, that's just my personal take. Objectively, this is an absolutely phenomenal motorcycle.
What really defines this bike can essentially be summed up in two things. First, the 3-cylinder engine from Triumph, which is undoubtedly unmatched in this category in terms of performance. And second, the incredibly stable and precise handling. This combination makes the bike absolutely unbeatable when riding at the limit. The precision you get from this chassis, combined with the well-tuned suspension components, which, let's not forget, are of very high quality, really stands out. Thanks to the stable chassis setup, the bike behaves almost like a supersport machine, but with an upright riding position. That's one of the biggest advantages, making this bike such a precise riding machine. And then of course there's the engine. It delivers strong torque from low revs, but then fires up at the top end like a 4-cylinder with a similarly smooth power delivery. With this Triumph triple engine, you essentially get all the benefits of different engine concepts without their drawbacks. It offers an incredibly wide usable rev range, outstanding smoothness and high power output. And in my opinion, these factors make the bike so effective and so strong when it comes to riding it in a sporty manner. Of course, there are some minor trade-offs, particularly in terms of agility. Many people talk about how quickly a bike can transition from side to side when riding in a straight line. And yes, that's true. But for me, that's not really relevant, because how often do you actually find yourself in that kind of riding situation? Hardly ever. Normally, you're braking into a corner and rolling through it, usually trying to carry as much speed as possible. And for that, I don't need excessive agility. In fact, I wouldn't even want it. What I want is precise control over the front end so that I can clearly feel where the limit is and when I'm starting to approach the tire's grip threshold. And I can only achieve that with handling as precise and composed as what I experience on the Triumph. That's why, in my opinion, this bike is an absolute weapon when it comes to performance riding.
The Street Triple S has the advantage of being $700 cheaper than a comparable KTM 990 Duke. That said, price comparisons with the 990 Duke are always tricky since there are several optional extras that add to its cost. With the Street Triple S, you essentially have a set price on the tag and that's it. But another advantage of the Street Triple S is that there's also the more affordable R model beneath it, which is already a fantastic bike for many riders. So now, Triumph has positioned the RS as the flagship model. And for those who find it financially out of reach, the R is an easy alternative, a great bike that still benefits from the prestige of its bigger sister. Strangely enough, during our test, there wasn't as much focus on the price of the Street Triple S as there was with the KTM 990 Duke. Maybe that's down to its more premium overall appearance. It simply looks more refined, with attention to detail that feels a bit more polished. Mechanically, it just seems more finely crafted. It's a sharper blade, so to speak. And without a doubt, it's the kind of bike that appeals to those who enjoy riding very sportily. With the Street Triple S, you essentially get a sport bike in a naked bike package. At no point do you ever get the feeling that corners have been cut or costs have been saved. Instead, it's packed with high-end supersport components. That's why no one really questioned the price. The general perception was that this is a very refined and high-quality motorcycle in a compact displacement class. Yet in terms of image, presence and outright speed, it can easily keep up in the power naked bike category. Many riders probably compare it to even more expensive power nakeds when considering price. And everyone knows that with the Street Triple, you can keep up with power nakeds without any problem, simply because it's so well engineered. Out on the open road, its practical performance is more than enough to hold its own.
I had the opportunity to test this machine both on the racetrack and on the open road, and I have to say the Street Triple RS is an absolute track bike. On the road, it feels fantastic. Long sweeping corners and fast country roads, that's where it truly shines. It just wants to hunt, to chase down anything in front of it. In tighter corners or on rougher roads though, you do notice that the Öhlins suspension is quite firm, perhaps a touch too stiff for open road riding. But on track, I have to say, when I took it to Jerez, I was able to put in seriously fast lap times. I spent a day training with some quick Triumph riders, just lapping the circuit, and I was really able to push the bike to its limits. And honestly, if you're looking for a compromise between a fast naked bike for the road and something you can take to the track 3 or 4 times a year, say for the 1000 PS track days, this is without a doubt the best choice. You don't really need anything extra. Maybe just throw on some slicks if you're chasing lap times, but otherwise you can take it straight from the showroom to the racetrack. In the 20-minute stints I did in Jerez, I couldn't find a single weakness in the bike. The quick shifter works flawlessly, the engine pulls hard, plenty of mid-range and top-end power with endless performance. We were hitting 260 kilometers per hour on the straights, so this thing absolutely rips. I have to say, if you're serious about track riding but still want a bike for fast road use, this is hands down the best machine for the job.
I really enjoyed it. In fact, it was the most powerful bike I've ridden so far. At first I was a bit nervous and thought, oh God, what am I getting myself into? But it turned out to be easier than I expected. I was genuinely, and in a positive way, surprised by how accessible it felt. It was incredibly fun to ride. The acceleration was there, it had tons of power, and visually it definitely looks sporty. However, the riding position isn't as tucked in as, say, on the Ducati 90. but still it immediately encourages you to ride in a sporty manner. The handling was effortless and I felt really comfortable on it. In corners it was super easy. Not once did I feel overwhelmed by the power or that it was too much to handle. So I'd say that among high performance bikes, it's definitely an option even for riders who don't have much experience with this kind of power. That's what really surprised me in a good way.
The brakes are absolutely sensational. They bite incredibly well, but remain super easy to modulate. And I really like that. It's not the kind of braking that makes you worry about locking up the front wheel or getting thrown over the handlebars. You get that perfect balance of progressive and degressive braking just as it should be. The bike tracks beautifully in a straight line, but it's also fantastic for carving through long sweeping corners. I've already taken it on the track, and this is a bike you can just unload, hop on and push hard, all with the stock tires and stock suspension. It's fully capable of delivering seriously quick lap times. At the same time, you can also just throw a tail bag on the back or wear a backpack and take a relaxed ride up to the lake. I find that really cool. At just under 12,000, the price is strong, a real statement against the Duke. Personally, I think the Street Triple is an absolute powerhouse.
So thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. We've not gone massively into the technical details, so if you want any techie stuff, fire some questions below and we'll get back to you. Thanks for watching, and if you've got any bikes that we want to test, throw them down below and hopefully the guys will invite me back to do some more.